Everybody, Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sunday, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. Friday here on this show, and you know what that means? Means it's Friday on this show. And you never know what that means, actually. But we do have news to talk about here today. And I actually want to start off with the bad news. Former WWE Tough Enough winner Sarah Lee has passed away at 30 years old. Lee's passing was announced by her mother, Terry Lee, in a Facebook post on Thursday. Cause of death has not been disclosed. It is with heavy hearts we want to share that our Sarah Weston has gone to be with Jesus, Terry Lee wrote. We are all in shock and arrangements are not complete. We ask that you respectfully let our family mourn. We all need prayers, especially Corey and her children. In 2015, Lee was voted the female winner of the most recent season of WWE Tough Enough. As one of the two winners of the show, she earned a $250,000 WWE contract and joined the Performance Center. However, she departed WWE in 2016. She was married to former WWE wrestler Wesley Blake. The couple had 3 children together. Just a couple of days ago, she'd posted something on Instagram. She'd been back in the gym after a sinus infection, and then word broke yesterday. So all the best to the family and friends, our condolences, and that's the story. Really nothing else to say about it except it's a horrible story, and the best to everybody. Got a lot of other news to get into here today. If you want to text us, 425-780-7566. That is 425-780-7566. Bryan at WrestlingObserver.com, at Bryan Alvarez on Twitter. And Mike Sempervive is going to join us after the break. We'll talk the ratings. A huge weekend of shows coming up. One show after another, starting with 3 big shows tonight and more on 4 big shows, actually. So we'll talk about that after the break. Observer Live.
Hey there, everyone. It's Denise Salcedo. I'm back with another commercial break. This time we are going to be doing Extreme Rules trivia. Here is part 1. Question number 1. How many Extreme Rules pay-per-views have there been, including the upcoming 2022 event? A, 10, B, 12, C, 14. The answer is 14. Question number 2. Which state has held the most Extreme Rules pay-per-views? A, Pennsylvania, B, New Jersey, C, Florida, D, Louisiana. The correct answer is A, Pennsylvania. Question number 3. What year was Extreme Rules held exclusively for the Raw brand? A, 2013, B, 2015, C, 2017, D, 2018. The correct answer is 2017. Question number 4. Who did CM Punk defeat at Extreme Rules 2009? A, Umaga, B, Jeff Hardy, C, all of the above, D, none of the above. The correct answer is all of the above. CM Punk defeated Umaga earlier in the night in a Samoan strap match, and then he cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase on Jeff Hardy. Question number 5. True or false? The title of Miss WrestleMania was on the line at Extreme Rules 2009. The answer is true. It was Santino Marella wrestling as Santina Marella versus Chavo Guerrero and Vicky in a handicap hog pen match for the title of Miss WrestleMania, in which Santina Marella won. That's a wrap for part 1 of Extreme Rules Trivia. I'll be back with a round 2.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. And holy smokes, do we have a big weekend of shows coming up here. SmackDown tonight, Rampage tonight, Battle of the Belts tonight, the TNA Bound for Glory pay-per-view tonight, Extreme Rules tomorrow. There's a New Japan show tomorrow. I can't watch it all. But I'm going to watch.
Are you going to watch Jon Moxley and Nick Gage also tomorrow?
Oh my God, that's tomorrow as well.
That is tomorrow.
Yeah, not looking good, bro. Let me tell you something about Jon Moxley and Nick Gage. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this or not, but Jon Moxley is the current GCW champion, and for those of you that don't know what was supposed to happen at the All Out show this year, CM Punk beat Jon Moxley. And Jon Moxley was going to go on vacation. He said it in a promo. He was going to be gone, I don't know if it was 6 weeks, 8 weeks, but he was going to be gone for a substantial period of time. And as a result of that, GCW set up a storyline where Jon Moxley is going to defend the GCW title against the biggest babyface ever in GCW, Nick Gage. And the stipulation is that Nick Gage's career is on the line. So Nick Gage either beats Jon Moxley and wins the title, or Nick Gage retires. Now, it's possible that none of this matters and Nick Gage is just going to retire. But it is professional wrestling. And, I mean, if I had to make a bet, I would bet that Nick Gage is not going to retire and that he is probably scheduled to win this title from Jon Moxley, because Jon Moxley was supposed to just be on vacation. He was supposed to be the AEW champion. So then, all hell broke loose at All Out, and now Jon Moxley is the AEW champion. So now we got potentially an issue. As noted, if Nick Gage is just done, he's out, it's not an issue. But if Nick Gage was supposed to win, now you've got the AEW champion, who was not supposed to be the AEW champion. And my guess is Tony Khan's, I would think, probably not high on the idea of the AEW champion going to a GCW show, which Mike explained was outside in the parking lot or something, and losing the title to Nick Gage. Obviously not the AEW title. So this is a potentially, I'm very intrigued by what they do this weekend. Because here's the deal. What's Jon Moxley's character? He's the man of the people. He's not a corporate guy. He goes out there, he does indie dates here and there. Jon Moxley's character is not the sort of guy that shows up and goes, I'm just going to hand over this title. Jon Moxley's character is not the guy who's not going to show up. The Jon Moxley character, right? He should be going to GCW and putting over Nick Gage if that was a scheduled finish.
Well,
but now he's got a championship that he, Tony doesn't usually let his champions go and just do jobs on indie shows. It's rare, as in it's never happened. So it'll be very interesting this weekend. What is going to happen in Jon Moxley and Nick Gage? We'll see. It's intriguing.
I'm just interested to see where they go. This thing is on the pier in Atlantic City, so they could be hanging off the one of the gimmick rides or in the arcade or in the water. It's going to be very, very interesting, especially on a night that's looking like it's going to be under 50 degrees and maybe a little bit of rain. It's going to be fascinating. Going to be fascinating for guys like Nick Wayne and Shun Skywalker. That's on the show. That is if you really think about it, it's like a head-exploding match between the two. Tony Deppen and Yamato, they got a couple of the Dragon Gate guys who have coming over, but, I worry about that. You get the slippery canvas, you got all those other things that come with running outside, especially in possibly inclement weather, so it's certainly going to be an interesting weekend.
The other thing, if I were asked, what do you do in this situation if you're Tony Khan? And here's my answer. My answer is that if Nick Gage is supposed to win the GCW title, my answer is Jon Moxley goes in there and Nick Gage beats him and wins the GCW title. And then, whenever, guess who shows up on Dynamite and he's getting an AEW championship match, and then Jon Moxley beats him.
Well, they don't have to worry about dominoes.
I mean, here's the end of the day. Here's the thing. Let's say that, would it have been the end of the world if Juice Robinson would have beaten Jon Moxley in that title eliminator, and then a week later they have the title match and Moxley beats him? Of course not. It would have made no difference whatsoever. Is it going to make one bit of difference, business-wise, if Nick Gage goes in there and beats Jon Moxley? No. If you're concerned about it, then you can have Jon Moxley beat Nick Gage on television. But honest to God, here's the thing. I don't think you even need to do that. And I think that given the character that Jon Moxley portrays, given the AEW, they want to give the impression that, we're not a big corporation. We care about the fans. And the fans, they were promised this match, and circumstances came up. So you know what? We're going to give them the match. And we're going to do something you don't expect. We're actually going to have our champion lose on an indie show. And it gives them cred. It gives Jon Moxley cred. And there is no passionate AEW fan that's going to hear that Jon Moxley lost a match to Nick Gage at a GCW show and go, this guy's a fake champion. I can't watch this show anymore. When's SmackDown on with Roman?
How can he face Inoki now?
Not one.
Hey, look, I mean, honestly, it could very well be the case that Nick Gage was going to retire, lose this match. I think everybody...
Maybe he was.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you see it on paper, you go, well, Moxley's been champion over a year. This would be a great chance to get it off of him. Oh, okay, we'll do this slide. Nobody's going to believe that Nick loses. Maybe he does. And I think... You're right. This is 2022, and considering what the AEW fan base is, I think they'll have more respect for Jon Moxley. I mean, as far as the base goes, people on the outside, casual fans, maybe not so much, but, Jon Moxley losing in GCW, it's not 1971. It's 2022. I don't think anybody would care, bat an eye, even really think about it unless, they had an axe to grind against AEW or against Jon Moxley or GCW, whatever it would be. But you can also, because it's GCW, if there is some sort of screwy finish to this that ends up with Moxley winning or with, whatever it is, I know you don't like to do this, but Nick Gage is a guy that a year from now you can bring back during WrestleMania weekend and have a passionate outcry from the fan base to rally behind him to get him out of retirement again, to flip the stipulation over. And I know it's a dumb kind of thing to do, but it's not like it hasn't happened in pro wrestling before. You just need to be able to have somebody. This is the scenario with Cody. He'll never get a title shot. 5 years down the line, you could always do an angle to bring it back where he can get a shot. And I think you could probably do that with Nick Gage's career here as well, too. But who knows what's going to happen? And who knows if this does change things where they do bring in somebody to cause a little havoc in the main event.
Hey, bro, I hate to do this because we might have an issue, but unplug and plug your mic back in. It's got a horrible tinny noise to it everyone's complaining about. Luckily, we'll be heading to a commercial here pretty soon. But in addition to that show, I have for you the lineup for SmackDown tonight. I have for you the lineup for Rampage tonight. The lineup for the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. And when we come back from the break, I know all of you at video.f4wonline.com get to enjoy my ruggedly handsome face in HD every day. But if you want to see it again on Vice TV, The Vince McMahon documentary will be airing in just under 2 weeks. I'll give you the date. You can set your DVRs now. Let's have this show beat Raw. That's coming up after the break. Observer Live.
Round 2 of Extreme Rules Trivia. Here we go. Question number 1. Who wrestled in a Kiss Me Arse match on Extreme Rules 2015? A. Neville versus Bad News Barrett. B. Dolph Ziggler versus Sheamus. C. Sheamus versus Bad News Barrett. The answer is Dolph versus Sheamus. Question number 2. Who cashed in their Money in the Bank briefcase at Extreme Rules 2019? A. Braun Strowman. B. Brock Lesnar. C. Baron Corbin. The answer is Brock Lesnar. He successfully cashed in and defeated Seth Rollins to win the WWE Universal Championship. Next question. How did John Cena defeat Batista at Extreme Rules 2010? A. Taped his legs together. B. Handcuffed him to the ropes. C. With the attitude adjustment. The correct answer is he taped his legs together during their last man standing match. Next question. What did Alexa Bliss ask Braun Strowman to do during the swamp fight with Bray Wyatt? A. To end Bray Wyatt. B. To come home and follow her. C. To sacrifice himself. The correct answer is B. She asked him to come home and follow her because according to her, he's known that they've always wanted to be together. That's a wrap for Extreme Rules Trivia Part 2. I will be back with a Round 3 shortly. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of Wrestling Observer Live.
Well, everybody, no good deed goes unpunished.
Uh-oh.
I tried to fix Sempervive's audio for you all.
Oh, God, listen to this.
And the whole thing broke during the break. So Mike has it plugged in, and we're doing everything in our power to not wiggle anything. No wiggling, Mike. If you wiggle your cord, we're going to have big issues on the show today.
I've been told that before.
We're going to need to get this thing repaired.
Hey, this would be a great time right now. If anybody would like to become a super follower or maybe get a cameo, this might be a good day to do
Yeah,
it.
I could use some money. All right, here's all of the lineups for the shows coming up here. First off, a 2-hour documentary from Vice on former chairman and CEO Vince McMahon will debut later this month. They also reported the 9 Lives of Vince McMahon will air on Tuesday, October 18 at 8 Eastern as a lead-in for that night's AWA-focused edition of the Tales of the Territories.
Oh, boy.
What a great day for this to air. A day where, in fact, we have got both NXT and AEW going head-to-head.
Oh, no. Oh, God, that's right.
That's their head-to-head day.
No, that's right. Major League Baseball.
Do me a favor, bloke. Set that DVR. These numbers ain't looking good.
Oh, man. And, as an aside, Major League Baseball is in the playoffs right now. The NHL season has officially started today. Obviously, basketball is going to be kicking off here pretty soon, so prepare for a lot of moving around when it comes to the schedules.
All right, here's the lineups, everyone. Did I mention, by the way, October 18th, 8 o'clock p.m., Vice TV? I'll be reminding you regularly.
Eastern time.
I don't need this thing doing 300 viewers. I prefer it did a little better than that, but who cares now? This is going to be rough. If this does a good number, I want a little bit of credit. That's some strong competition. AEW and NXT. And you know those two shows are going to be booking that night?
What?
Bro, everything. Everything. Neither side wants to lose. There's going to be main roster guys all over NXT. AEW is going to have title matches. I mean, they're throwing everything at the wall. So,
look, I know Brian Solomon's on this. I know Dave Meltzer is on this. But can we really thank you for the house if it ends up doing a good number?
Actually, now that I think about it, wouldn't those shows air 9 to 11? And this is 8 to 9? That's 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
God, I hope I'm in the first hour. All right. Rampage tonight. We have the Death Triangle defending the Trios titles against John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and 10. We got Josh Woods and Tony Nese versus the Varsity Blondes. Madison Rayne and Sky Blue versus Ty Mello and Anna Jay. John Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio versus Roosh and Private Party, as well as Jose the Assistant. I better do better numbers than that bloke coming up on Tuesday. AEW Battle of the Belts follows immediately afterwards, in which we have Jade Cargill versus Willow Nightingale. We have the Gates of Agony versus FTR for the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles. We have Trent Beretta versus Pac for the All-Atlantic title. So 2 hours of Rampage coming up tonight. Also tonight, SmackDown for 2 hours. We have got Zelina. She's going to be back soon. I don't know if it'll be tonight, but Zelina's on her way back. This has not been advertised, these first two things. Zelina should be back soon, maybe tonight. And Legado del Fantasma is expected to be a SmackDown team. I don't know if they will be there in person tonight, but I would not be surprised if you saw a vignette for them on the show tonight. We have a face-to-face with Roman Reigns and Logan Paul. We have the Intercontinental title on the line. Gunther will face Sheamus.
You seem to say that with a little bit of a smirk on your face.
What,
there.
Logan and Roman?
Logan and
God,
Roman.
that last Logan Paul segment was an atrocity.
Yeah, at least we'll get Paul.
We had Paul last time. It was still an atrocity.
I know.
And we have Solo Sikoa versus Ricochet. And, I got to tell you guys, you look at all those matches on AEW Rampage, and there is a match on SmackDown where the last time these two men were in the ring together, it got 5 stars. So there's a possibility that the best match tonight is going to be on SmackDown, on a night where we have SmackDown, Rampage, Battle of the Belts, and Bound for Glory. So we'll see what kind of time they give them, what they allow them to do. Wouldn't be surprised if Sheamus won that title either. Now,
that would be interesting leading into tomorrow.
We've also got the Bound for Glory show. Brian Myers will be defending the Impact Media Championship against a TBD. Josh Alexander versus Eddie Edwards for the Impact title. Jordan Grace versus Masha Slamovich for the Impact, or the women's title. The
Knockouts.
They're knockouts, that's right. Honor No More, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett versus Motor City Machine Guns for the tag team titles. Mike Bailey versus Frankie Kazarian for the X Division title. Mia Yim versus Mickie James. If Mickie James loses this match, she will retire from professional wrestling.
Oh.
And I'm not saying that if she retires, she won't come back, but These things mean less than they used to.
Well,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I know some guy who keeps coming back and trying his hand at this wrestling thing and keeps losing tag matches. Can't remember his name, though.
How dare you? We've got Chelsea Green and Deanna Purrazzo versus Jessica and Taya Valkyrie for the Impact Knockouts tag titles. And a Call Your Shot gauntlet match. A 20-wrestler intergender gauntlet battle royal. That is Bound for Glory coming up here tonight. And then tomorrow, Extreme Rules. Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. Extreme Rules for the SmackDown Women's title. Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins in a fight pit match with Daniel Cormier as the guest referee. Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross in a strap match. Bianca versus Bayley and Io Sky for the Raw Women's title. Edge and Finn Balor for the it's an I Quit match. Yeah, I Quit. That's a stip. And then the Brawling Brutes will be facing Imperium in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match.
Might be the match of the weekend right there, no matter what the promotion is.
Well, I mean, if Gunther and Sheamus have a match the same as they had at that pay-per-view, good luck anything beating it this weekend. That would mean one of those matches I just read would have to be 5 stars or better. That's a high bar. So, there you go. It's a lineup.
How do you think they're bringing back, in your gut right now, well, how do you feel as though they bring back Bray Wyatt? Because there's been a lot of speculation that, okay, we're going to go ahead and cash in on the White Rabbit thing or do at least a little bit of a bigger impact thing at the pay-per-view. Could you see him get involved in a match like a match with Edge where he helps Finn Balor do something to cause havoc, or do you bring him in against somebody else in a different type of scenario? You know, you bring him in against somebody who's not on the card, or do you put some impact on something that takes place tomorrow in Philadelphia?
Well, I'm trying to think about who this bloke would even feud with.
Well, that's the thing.
Because, listen, I don't know if he's coming back as a babyface. I mean, he's going to get a babyface reaction when he comes back. So maybe you could have a jolly old fiend, and he's going to come back and go after a heel.
Dexter Lumis.
I mean, he could be a heel. In which case, well, who's he going to feud with? Drew McIntyre. I mean, you could do the Karrion Kross Drew McIntyre match, and you know, Drew McIntyre. I think they really want to get this Karrion Kross going. So I could see Karrion Kross beating Drew after some sort of interference from the returning Fiend. I could see them doing that. I don't know if that's what they're going to do. And then Drew McIntyre could feud with the Fiend. That poor bloke. But again, I don't know what the Fiend. I don't know if he's going to do magic. If he comes back, and by the way, a correction, that match on SmackDown that I talked about was not with Sheamus. It was with Kevin Owens. And although I was wrong, let me tell you something. Bray Wyatt with no Hocus Pocus versus Sheamus, that'd be a banger. Yeah. So anyway, this guy can do hard-hitting, good matches. He doesn't need to do the magic in Hocus Pocus. And, Drew McIntyre, if you've watched a lot of Drew McIntyre, I don't think this bloke likes a lot of magic and Hocus Pocus. So that would actually be a good first feud to kick off a new Fiend who has the same mask, character, everything, but doesn't do magic. I'd be fine with that.
Well, and that, if you wanted to throw Edge into the mix, because we already know what Edge's feelings are on Hocus Pocus and magic and all that stuff.
What? Poca Hoka?
That's some Pocahontas
Hocus
and whatnot.
Pocus.
So with that Hocus Pocus, we know Edge doesn't like it. So that's why I can see maybe him splitting off if they decide to turn AJ Styles, have an AJ Styles Edge feud or something like that, leading into a big match at Survivor Series. Could definitely see something like that. And then Drew McIntyre really in some ways would be the perfect person for him to come back with. Now, I don't know if they want to do that because obviously do you want to be done with Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre right away? I guess maybe you could be, and if you could, that's probably the right guy to put him in with. And again, you just hope that there's not as much Hocus Pocus and there's a lot more fisticuffs and big, meaty men slapping meat because Kevin Owens, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Bobby, anybody that goes out there and thumps, I mean, that's really, again, that stuff is always going to get over. That stuff is always going to be what people want to see in general more than the magic.
Hey, listen. Speaking of magic, this person says he'd love to see me and Edge go and go crazy at a magic show with anger. I like magic. I used to be a magician. Huh? You see this? See this coin? Watch. Below, Mike. Whoa!
Amazing.
I like magic. I don't like magic on my wrestling show. You know what? I quit. See you next week, everybody.
I'm going to make this guy disappear. We'll be right back. Wrestling Observer Live.
It's time for round 3 of Extreme Rules Trivia. Here we go. Question number 1. How did Roman Reigns defeat Big Show at Extreme Rules 2015? A. He ran Big Show over with a car. B. He speared him through a barricade. C. He buried him with the commentary table. The correct answer is he buried him with the commentary table in their last man standing match. Question number 2. Who did Samoa Joe defeat via submission at Extreme Rules 2017 in a Fatal 5-Way? A. Finn Balor, B. Roman Reigns, C. Seth Rollins, D. Bray Wyatt. The correct answer is Finn Balor. Question number 3. Who was helping Alexa Bliss during her match against Nia Jax at Extreme Rules 2018? A. Natalya, B. Ronda Rousey, C. Nikki Cross, D. Mickie James. The correct answer is Mickie James, who was in the corner of Alexa Bliss. Question number 4. What year was the pay-per-view called The Horror Show at Extreme Rules? A. 2019, B. 2020, C. 2021. The correct answer is 2020. Question number 5. What was the opening match of Extreme Rules 2021? A. Damian Priest versus Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus. B. Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss. C. The Usos versus Street Profits. D. None of the above. The correct answer is none of the above. The opening match for the main card of the show was The New Day against Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, and Omos, in which The New Day won. Alrighty, that's a wrap for our Extreme Rules trivia vids. I will be back with some more commercials in the future, but in the meantime, enjoy the rest of Wrestling Observer Live, and do not forget to subscribe to F4W Online. On YouTube, we are almost about to hit 100,000 subscribers. See you there.
Back on the show, Mike Sempervive here with you, Wrestling Observer Live. Isn't that amazing? Thankfully, I was able to make Bryan disappear. And thankfully for me, he doesn't have any type of weird magical... Ah! Ah. I'll be damned. Point to you, Bryan Alvarez. I'm not sure exactly how he did that. He was a big fan of Harry Anderson on Night Court when he was there. Anyway, back on the show, Wrestling Observer Live. It's Friday. It's Friday, and Bryan's out of here, and I'm here with you, and hopefully you can hear me okay with this tinny microphone, and there's still a lot of stuff to get into, not the least of which is Oney Lorcan? Oney Lorcan kind of forgot about Oni, actually, when I thought he was released from WWE, and now he's working as a full-time coach at the Performance Center. Apparently, according to Dave's Wrestling Observer newsletter, which, by the way, if you're not a subscriber to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, if this isn't the year to try to convince you, I don't know what would be, to be honest with you, because what Dave wrote about Vince McMahon once he was ousted from WWE was an amazing issue. This issue with Antonio Inoki is something else as well, too. So an incredibly packed newsletter this week, including the news on Oni Lorcan, Chris Gerard, who was brought in working as a guest coach at the Performance Center. But he's the type of guy that I would love to see stay on in a role as a coach. I mean, how many bad matches did you see from Oni Lorcan? There really weren't a whole lot of them, were they? He's always technically proficient, always technically sound. He's one of those guys like Drew Gulak who, yes, they don't have their wrestlers work in that style all of the time. Obviously not. We've seen this with trainers. They had Steve Kern. They had Ricky Steamboat. They've had a lot of guys from the past who were great technical workers, and that's not exactly what they want them to do. But they still need to be trained in some of this and, you know, actual trained professional wrestlers. And Oni Lorcan is a great person to actually do that with. So, you know, good for him and congratulations. I think that would be a good move by WWE to bring him on full time. What I think is a big negative for WWE is the fact that they have apparently released Nigel McGuinness, and we heard about all of the announcer shakeups that were taking place yesterday, and I kind of wondered, what does this mean for Nigel? You know, with Booker T getting the spot with Vic Joseph, which I believe is temporary for now, because once Pat McAfee returns from ESPN and gets back in his role on SmackDown, I would assume that Wade Barrett would slide back down to NXT. He and Vic Joseph, I think, are a very good team. I like that whole team. Mackenzie Mitchell is a backstage interviewer. I like that whole package, and I think that's probably what was going to happen. But I thought with Nigel McGuinness, whatever happens with NXT Europe, she probably was going to have a role there because he was not inserted anywhere else. But apparently that's because he's been released, and that information comes from PW Insider. He's been with the company since 2016. He was doing the NXT Level Up show, and you know, it's frustrating because he's really good at that job. And in AEW, they have a zillion announcers. I mean, they hired Big Show to be an announcer. They hired Mark Henry to be an announcer. They have Jim Ross. They have Taz. They have Excalibur. They have Tony Schiavone. I'm sure there's names I'm forgetting. Nigel McGuinness would be a great person to have on one of those shows, and I don't watch Dark and Elevation much. I hate to say this. I just don't have the time, so a lot of times when I see Dark and Elevation, it happens to be on Botchamania, where it's Taz, and we get some of the commentary there. So, and he and Excalibur are great together. They're hilarious together. The little bits I see, you know, they're having a good time. But is that a good place to maybe have a Nigel McGuinness? Is it good to have Nigel McGuinness on staff because of all of his experience? He's got experience acting, you know, outside of the wrestling realm. He's got experience, you know, being a public speaker outside of the wrestling realm, on top of the fact that, I mean, technically he was fantastic. I mean, you know, he could, again, I don't have to go through the accolades of Nigel McGuinness for most of you out there. I mean, he was a tremendous professional wrestler, and you can't tell the story of Ring of Honor without Nigel McGuinness, without Samoa Joe, without Bryan Danielson, without some of the guys that were there. And maybe that's a really good spot for him, is maybe ending up doing something with Ring of Honor. If not as a announcer, maybe in the role of an executive, maybe in the role of a, you know, the president or the commissioner or something like that. That would probably be, in my mind, that would be a good thing to do. And I know they have Caprice Coleman and they have Ian Riccaboni, and they're good. They're more than good. They're, in fact, over time, I think Caprice really doesn't get his credit for how good and how comfortable he has gotten. And the same thing with Ian, too, although Ian started off really good. You know, he's gotten a lot better as well, too. You know, them getting back in the groove with each other, you bring in Nigel to do something there. couldn't be the worst idea in the world. At least I don't think it is. A couple other things, too, that are kind of clicking around in my mind. You know, Brian did bring up at the beginning about Nick Gage and Jon Moxley. The rest of that card as well, too, and I did mention Nick Wayne and Shun Skywalker. Tony Deppen and Yamato may be one of those matches this weekend, too, and I'm sure there's going to be a handful that kind of can be put in the steal the show category, but that's one of those matches that probably isn't going to get a lot of shine with a lot of other matches taking place all over the place this weekend, but I love that match on paper. They have a GCW Tag Team Championship, the Mega Bastards of Alex Colon and John Wayne Murdoch against Arina Yamashita and Drew Parker, which ought to be violent. For sure, for sure. Jordan Oliver and Jonathan Gresham, just another, it's like kind of like Nick Wayne, just another brick on the steps for Jordan Oliver to kind of continue to get better. They had Jordan Oliver and Nick Wayne in matching gear over in GCW when they went to Japan against Freedom. So, to see Nick Oliver and Nick Wayne, or to see Jordan Oliver and Nick Wayne were as a tag team too over here with the matching gear and all that sort of stuff, I think that's pretty cool. Joey Janela and Cole Radrick against Ciclope and Miedo Extremo. That ought to be interesting as well, too. And then Alley Catch against Sawyer Wreck is going to be what fills out the first night of the Fight Club shows. So outside in Atlantic City, I mean, that is certainly a decision to make. And I'm not exactly sure if they had planned it that way or if something else had gone on. I know there's a kickboxing event that's going to be taking place inside the Showboat, so it's certainly a decision to make, and I just hope for the people that are going that the weather actually holds out for them a little bit, because that's, 50 degrees with the wind coming off the water. In fact, it's going to be under 50 degrees with the possibility to rain with the wind coming off the water like that. It is, again, I feel bad for the people that are going to be working out there, although some of those people worked during the pandemic outside, including in, I think it was, where did they move the collective? Indianapolis, because I guess it was helped out along by Spider Nate Webb, or that was able to get a park to let GCW in. And for those people that had to perform outside in the sun, I remember that was the same way in Atlantic City. In fact, at the pier, at least it's not during the day where you have to worry about all the sun and shadows and things like that, as a fan, you may not think about, but when you're in the ring, it probably throws you off a little bit. Sad news for anybody looking to vote for Dwayne Johnson to be your president of the United States coming up. He is ruling out the run for president, apparently told CBS in an interview that will air on Sunday morning that he does not want to run for president. He says it's off the table. Yes, it's off the table. I will say this because it requires a B-side to this. I love our country and everyone in it. I also love being a daddy, and that's the most important thing to me, is being a daddy. Number one, especially during this time, this critical time in my daughter's lives, because I know what it was like to be on the road and be so busy that I was absent for a lot of the years when my first daughter was growing up in these critical ages at this critical time in their life, and that's what the presidency will do. Sure, CEO sounds great, but the number one thing I want to be is daddy, and that is it. Probably a smart thing to do. I don't know. I don't know. The Rock running for president when you've never served any public office, and I know, the experience levels when it comes to the presidency has gotten less and less in this country, but I know he announced that we killed Osama bin Laden and all, and he had some sort of connect that way. But I mean, come on, really. It's so any thought of him running for president too. I mean, it drags up a whole bunch of things, not only from your past, but from your family's past. And is that something that you really want? Forget about the fact that you're going to lose time with your daughters. What about the fact that you're going to have people in the media and muckrakers and everything else really diving deep into every single family member, looking for some sort of dirt, looking for some sort of story to bring up? And doesn't sound very appetizing to me. So it just, to me, I never took it seriously anyway. I know a lot of other people did, and maybe, he was dead serious about doing it, but I am more than happy that that is not happening. Oh, by the way, for everybody listening to on Sports Byline for Sports, middle of the sixth right now, still no score. St. Louis and Philadelphia here as the NL wildcard game has kicked off here. And again, some of these changes are going to affect programming when it comes to AEW, especially here coming up. Again, hockey season starting. There's going to be a lot of people who get upset again when you look at the NHL's ratings in comparison to AEW and you go, my God, wrestling gets X amount of times better ratings for, against most hockey games, but prestige sport. Whether you like it or not, they're the ones who are going to make out and obviously bring in the advertisers and can do things that AEW doesn't. So they're always going to be in that situation when it comes to the four major sports, even hockey, which in this country, again, it can be a little bit shaky. Let's see here. What else we got going on in the world? I don't have a super, I don't have a super Twitter or whatever to follow, so I can't really hype that up. And great, Firefox is now crashed as well too, and I'm just expecting at this point in the game for the computer to melt down fully as it did a couple of weeks ago, and this tie line to just die, and this microphone to die, and then I'm just stuck waiting to die. But at least I'll be watching a whole lot of pro wrestling along the way here as I'm not able to bring anything up as it's a blank screen now. Hopefully you can still hear me. I assume you can still hear me. Of course, if any of the producers were yelling in my ear, I wouldn't be able to tell that. As I stall terribly and pathetically trying to get to this break here as I try to bring the camera back up for all of you who now lost it being on YouTube or being on Twitch. I am so happy to get this stupid week over with. I really, really am. Am I back? Am I back? We got the giraffe. There's the giraffe. Yep. That's exactly how this week was, folks. Just terrible. Somebody get Andrade in here to punch out the rest of this week so we can all get the hell out of here and go home. Thank God there's the end music. We'll be right back. Wrestling Observer Live.
It is Denise once again with Craig, and we are hanging out here playing some games. I'm really excited about this one. I'm going to show you an image for 45 seconds. There are a total of 33 wrestlers in this image. How many you remember afterwards, after I take the image off? So here we go. 45 seconds on the clock. And time is now up.
Okay.
So, Craig, what do you have for dinner today?
What did I have for dinner today?
Yeah,
I haven't eaten yet, so
okay.
I'm gonna do some steaks here in a few minutes.
Now that I cleared your mind of the image, how many of these 33 names do you remember? And go.
Okay, there were both the Bucks. There were both the Usos. There was Brody King. There was Malachi Black. There was MJF. There was Will Ospreay. There was Serena Deeb. There was Keith Lee. Scorpio Sky. Ezekiel. Mia Yim. I saw Seth. I saw Phoenix. And this is where it gets tough. Pac was in the middle. Andrade.
17. So you're at 17 right now.
Okay. Oh man. I said Serena. You're evil.
Yeah.
Um,
It's amazing.
oh my goodness, I think I'm gonna have to call it.
All right, so you were
Yeah,
missing
nothing.
a total of 16. Now,
Yeah.
that's okay because I'm going to show you this image one more time. Someone has been removed and someone has been added.
Okay.
Here we go.
Alrighty. Elias has been added.
Correct. And with Ezekiel being removed,
Right.
I was trying to trick you on that one.
That's good. That's well played, young lady. Well played.
Back on this show, Mike Sempervive here with you. Still, I'm assuming you can hear me at least. I believe now you can see me again, too. I think this was the perfect period to put on the sentence that was this week. It felt like a prison sentence at times for me, but damn it, we survived because that's what we do. And I always have professional wrestling at least that can keep me going and keep me inspired to want to get through things here. And if you want to learn more about professional wrestling, and I mean learn more about professional wrestling, you should become a subscriber to WrestlingObserver.com for that Wrestling Observer newsletter. Just an amazing job Dave Meltzer did covering the career of Antonio Inoki, as well as all of the other news that is taking place in the world of professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. And it is going to be a very busy weekend. Talked about GCW. We talked about Extreme Rules coming up here in Philadelphia. We've got SmackDown tonight. We have Rampage / Battle of the Belts tonight, live from Washington, D.C. You have cards going on all over the world, including this Impact Wrestling Bound for Glory show, which I am actually looking forward to seeing. One of the reasons why is because I believe that Jordan Grace and Masha Slamovich can be a really, really good match, and I really like Masha Slamovich a lot. Jordan Grace, the angle that they did with Masha flipping over the table on top of her, saying she was going to kill her, I thought that came across really well. It's impossible for me to believe that Josh Alexander and Eddie Edwards will not be a good match. I know that ROH fans in the moment at the time really were not big fans, some of them, of Mike Bennett and Matt Taven, but when you take your personal opinions on what you wanted ROH to be or them out of the mix, they're really very, very good. They're really good as a team. Are they as good as the Motor City Machine Guns? I don't know about that. I had argued that the Motor City Machine Guns are certainly of the 2000s, they're a Hall of Fame 2000s tag team, and that match is going to probably be pretty damn good. Same thing with Speedball Mike Bailey and Frankie Kazarian. Since Speedball's been back in the country, have you seen a bad match with him? It's almost impossible. So I am really looking forward to this Impact Wrestling show tonight. So whatever your style of wrestling is, it's going to be there for you. Shall talk to you all again after a while.